Welcome back to Let's Talk Procurement, the only show you need to master the art of procurement. Let's go. Right then, mate, what are we talking about today?
Sorry, I was just taking a sip of my drink. That's a good start. Today we're talking about what is procurement. Procurement.
What is this whole podcast about, basically, right?
Yeah. What do we do for a living?
Well, what do you think it is, mate?
Well,
don't worry about it. So I've just had a cheeky little Google, because it's always nice to see what Google comes up with first, I think.
Don't worry about interrupting me either. That was.
To be honest, I'm just trying to save you from humiliation.
I had an answer. Don't worry about that.
I know you work in procurement, but I have my doubts. So if you Google it, right, the first thing that comes up is what is procurement in simple terms, and I think it's completely wrong to a degree. It says procurement is the process for an organisation to obtain products or services from external parties to ensure that production and business activities are smoothly carried out. Procurement can be divided into two parts: direct spend and indirect spend. It's just not true, is it? We don't just do that. This is a common misperception, I think, about procurement, is that we just buy stuff. We either buy a product or a service, and I think, well, hang on a second, that's really playing down what we do as procurement professionals.
I did. I was speaking to this guy. He was from Brazil, and he asked me what I do. I said I'm working procurement, and he said, "What's that?" And I kind of oversimplified it on reflection. I said, "I buy things and people," and then that led to him thinking I was a slave trader. So he didn't talk to me for the rest of the evening.
Well, I'm not surprised. He probably thought you were going to kidnap his family and sell him. So, yeah, well done, Brazilian guy. You dodged a bullet there. If someone asks me what I do and I say procurement, it's a mixed bag. It's not a mixed bag. No one knows what we do. I kind of just get blank faces.
Yeah, I reckon it's like a little Pareto 80-20 type thing, like 20% don't know, 80%, wait, no, hold on, other way around. 20% know,
no idea.
80% don't know, and just, you kind of have to, like, when you dumb it down, yeah.
It's kind of weird, actually, because I panic, and I always end up saying that, every company has salesmen, and sales guys can be pushy and try and get your company to basically pay over the price, over market price for whatever they want, so they can get their commission. And I always kind of position it that procurement are the polar opposite of a salesman, in that we are put there in a company to make sure that the company is making the right decisions around purchasing, spending, use of our resources and things like that. So it's to stop those pesky sales guys taking advantage of us.
Yeah, and I think one thing, it's actually, even though it's opposite to sales, it's quite similar to sales in terms of you've got to have good relationship building skills and ability to kind of think cynically around, like, do we really need this, or are we paying over the odds for something when we could be kind of paying less, or are we being sold a bit of a golden thread when we only need a little string?
No, that's a good call it an analogy, that one.
I just came up with that on the spot. That's the type of guy I am.
See, that's what you need to be a procurement professional, right?
Yeah.
Google doesn't really do it for me, so a lot of you listening, or just us two really, probably be doing SIPs. So let's look at the procurement definition according to SIPs. It is defined as the buying of goods and services that enable an organisation to operate its supply chains in a profitable and ethical manner. There are many different interpretations of what procurement is, and this definition can vary from sector to sector, subject to the activities undertaken within your organisation. Here are some definitions. The activity overseeing the steps of the procurement cycle. I'm sure we all know what that is. Things like market analysis, sourcing, negotiation, contracting, and supply relationship management for goods, works, and services, covering both acquisitions from third parties and in-house providers. The process spans the whole procurement cycle, from the identification of needs through to the end of a services contract or the end of the useful life of an asset. What do you reckon?
I mean, it's quite a long definition. I was sort of imagining, being at a party, a formal do, and someone saying, "What do you do?" And then, if you kind of run with that definition, then you will probably be thrown out.
Really? Is that not really a sociable thing to say, that, the activity overseeing the steps of the procurement cycle, such as market analysis, sourcing, negotiation, contracting, and supplier relationship management for goods, works, and services, covering both acquisitions from third parties and in-house providers? Is that capturing your interest?
Do you know what? I really want someone to do that. If there is anyone listening, and you got a upcoming event, maybe something on the weekend, you're meeting your girlfriend's family at her wedding, that's probably the first thing you should say to them. Introduce yourself and just smash out that whole definition.
Did you just say meeting your girlfriend's family at her wedding?
No, not necessarily your own wedding, but just, a family wedding, generic family wedding.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Or the next sort of work social where you've got to mingle with random colleagues you've never met before.
Oh yeah, that's even better, because then you do have to do procurement, so then you have to back up all those things that you've said in real life. So you've put yourself on a pedestal already. Can only go up from there.
So it's better to underplay it and just say that you buy pens and pencils.
You buy things and people. That's probably the one that is worse than the formal SIPS definition.
You don't buy people. You can't say that.
In my defence, I had a couple of Estonian beers at this point, so my thinking skills weren't, 100% capacity.
Fair enough. I mean, I've seen you at 100%, so that's tough enough. So
yeah.
Like at sort of 60%.
Yeah, no, it is a scary thought, and I think if I had the opportunity to travel back in time and fix one thing in my life, that interaction is the one thing that I would change.
Your one regret.
Yeah, my one regret. But then the question is, what would I say instead? Would I? I wouldn't go for the full SIPS definition.
Yeah.
I think that would be only slightly better. Maybe I'd say something like, I set up contracts between my organisation and third parties.
Still not riveting.
No, but is we try to advertise procurement? Is procurement ever riveting? Maybe.
Depends on it. If you've got a real lusty passion for it, then yeah, of course. But
yeah,
it's not everyone's cup of tea.
A PP. Passion for procurement.
Oh yeah. The interesting thing about the SIPS website here is that it keeps pointing back to the procurement cycle. So what should the procurement team do? It says that they are responsible for overseeing the procurement cycle, covering the core department activities such as market analysis, sourcing, negotiation, contract and supplier relationship management. Procurement adds value, apparently, and reduces risk across the supply chain through establishing the right working relationships with suppliers.
Yeah, I'm sort of kind of like imagining this episode being sent by the procurement professionals to family and friends. If someone says, "What do you actually do for a living?" Like, we know you work in procurement, but what does that actually mean? So I guess that's where I was thinking, if they say they buy people, then don't think that they're a slave trader. So I'm going to send this to that Brazilian guy, for sure.
You probably should question it, just to make sure. You got to rule it out, haven't you?
Yeah.
Like,
everyone's guilty until proven innocent. That's how it works, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. Look at Donald Trump.
Bringing politics into this now, are we?
Yeah, no, we probably should stay away from that. But yeah, no. When I told my nan, when I moved into my first ever buyer role, she thought that I just had a company credit card and went around buying stuff, which was great. She didn't seem too thrilled that was the career I was going into. But I think when I kind of said, "Look, Nan, I'm never going to be a rocket scientist or something jazzy like that," she kind of settled on it, and to this day, she's pretty supportive.
Yeah, I think SIPs a couple of years ago were trying to find people that hadn't just fallen into the profession. They'd actually like come out of school and been like, oh yeah, I want to go into procurement. But I don't actually know anyone that has had procurement as their first like choice. Basically, for me, it was just I wanted to do an apprenticeship straight out of school, and procurement was basically the only one that I could get. Yeah.
Oh, that's kind of sad.
What was how did you get into it?
To be fair, it was also an accident. When I graduated from uni, they did like a little employment test thing. You do this quiz, fill it in. It's like, boom, this is what we recommend you'll be good at. And it was like, oh, finance, maybe, and procurement came up. And I thought, oh, that's a snazzy looking word. Surely that pays well. Applied for a job in it, didn't get the job, so I went into a different field, in account management, and then that kind of worked out quite well for a few years. And I thought, oh, there's a job opening at this company for procurement. I was like, I wonder if I just apply for that, if I'll get it. No worries if not. And then here I am. I used that company, got my SIPs, happy days. But no, it's definitely, I kind of had it shown to me a little bit, like a loose definition, not the SIPs definition, obviously. But I had a definition of it shown to me when I left uni. Did it capture me? No, not really. Did I move for money? Yes. The entry role was paying more than my account management role, so I thought, yeah, why not? And it's continued to deliver quite well so far.
I think we're being quite cynical, to kind of flip it a bit from me being very cynical in terms of procurement, sort of taking the piss out of it a little bit. But in certain organisations, especially like manufacturing ones, or something where the cost of what you're buying directly impacts the cost of what you have to sell, procurement can be like one of the most important roles in the company. Like, imagine you're making, your company is making pens and selling them. If you've got a certain sales price that you need to hit to be competitive in the market, then it's really important that you procure all the different elements at the right price to make sure that you can make profit on that product.
No, I agree with that. I think that's fantastic, and we've got to do the opposite bit as well. Though it's not all just about price, because you might get a really cheap, pen lid, but what if it's made in a sweatshop? You have to do that sort of due diligence as well, just to make sure it's coming from a good source and it won't tarnish your company's reputation. Yeah. So there's a lot to it. It's kind of layers. It's when you look at procurement, I don't know, let's say 50, 60 years ago, it was very manufacturing based, and you would literally be buying, windscreen wipers to put on the cars in your manufacturing process, and you just have to make sure that you are continually stocked with windscreen wipers, and that would be your role. There's still roles like that today. Those roles kind of are more termed in the purchasing remit. So you might be a purchaser, some sort of purchasing role. That's not uncommon, and then you use sort of e-systems to support that. But procurement as an overall title has kind of absorbed all this stuff as we move into the digital world and the software services, all of that good stuff. It's just evolved into complex contracts, supply development, and trying to navigate through quite a saturated markets, really.
Which is a really good link to talk about procurement versus purchasing, which is actually a SIPS. I don't know, is it a SIPS topic, or it's something that comes up in SIPS anyway? I think they're quite big on highlighting that difference, especially because what you just said about previously, people think of procurement as just transactional type purchasing, buying stationery, buying office furniture for the cheapest price, whereas procurement is a lot more kind of rounded. I don't know if that's the right word, but there's a lot more to it than just going to someone and say, I want this, and then they give you it.
You've definitely you banged the nail on the head there, mate. There's kind of two main or massive differences that SIPs really call out. Procurement is seen as a long-term sort of strategy. You're looking at the very, very basics of trying to identify the right supplier, and you're taking it all the way through to the end of that contract. So it is the full life cycle of that sort of engagement with a supplier. You're looking at it very much over a number of years. The purchasing side of things is seen more as a like you said, transactional, kind of reactive and short-term basis. So, we've run out of pens, so we're going to order another 1,000 pens, or we're low on stock, so we're going to order another 1,000. And it's really to kind of showcase that in procurement there are skill sets that we take from other areas, and we kind of use them to our advantage. So there's quite often a bit of a legal or contractual knowledge that we need to have, a bit of financial understanding, a bit of stakeholder management, a bit salesy, like you said earlier. All of those bits you just have to kind of pull in, and then that's what creates a kind of good procurement professional.
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure. And I think, just gonna put my analogy in, being a procurement professional is very similar to being a referee.
Oh God, okay.
I don't know if I have spoken about this before, but that's because I've spoken about it every day basically. But in terms of the kind of similarities between the two, often as a procurement professional you are in the middle of your internal business unit that wants to buy something specific, and a lot of other people, like salespeople from the company you're buying from, or kind of, let's say if you're buying something that needs, I don't know, it's going to use your company's data, then maybe data protection people are going to get involved, IT security people. You kind of manage everyone's views, but you're sort of, everyone else is in teams, and then you're sort of in the middle, sometimes a lot of the time on your own, and you have to kind of balance a lot of different conflicting stakeholder views. Maybe some people want it for the cheapest price, some people want the best product, and then you have to come out with something that is the best value for the company, to kind of reach a middle ground and manage people's expectations and talk them through the process, what could happen next, all that type of stuff, which I think is very similar. So it can be quite a stressful role at times, and when things are on your desk, everyone's chasing you down and then returning it as quick as possible. It's sort of like procurement professionals, in the same way as referees don't get recognition for doing things well, they only get sort of publicity for when things go wrong.
That is unbelievable. So when you said you're going to drop an analogy about reffing, I thought this is going to be absolutely tragic. But now I'm sold.
Glad you had confidence.
Yeah, I had no confidence. To be honest, I was thinking I'll just get the editor to cut it out. But actually, that's unreal. You kind of see the home team in a football match are kind of like your stakeholders internally. The away team are like the sales guys, and you're in the middle getting hammered by absolutely both of them. And then you got the fans who are kind of, let's call them senior management, calling you a tosser because the contract's not being done on time.
Is that something you've experienced recently?
All the time,
like a personal analogy.
I always get that. They always start singing that the buyer is a wanker or something. Is that right?
Yeah, that's what happens.
Yeah, and it's just like you say, it can feel quite isolated in a sense, because the home team the business always forget that you're kind of there to protect the business. You're there to make sure that you're looking after the company, its reputation, its finances, and you're not just there to kind of be in the middle and blow the whistle,
People don't often understand kind of reasons for what you're doing. I suppose, say for example that you were kind of saying to internal stakeholders, no, we can't just go out and choose a random company. They might think that procurement are a bit of a blocker.
Yeah.
Whereas you maybe are the only one in the process or in the kind of overall project team that knows, well, my aim in sending this out to more suppliers is that I'm trying to get value, I'm trying to achieve value and save the business money. I suppose that's another kind of similarity.
No, it's true. There's a number of ways we generate value, and that's obviously going to come in some future episodes. I've also heard the term proc block.
I like that.
Yeah, the procurement professional is kind of we're proc blocking, stopping the purchase from going through. Have you ever experienced that?
That is that specific phrase, no. But I mean, to be fair to the people who say about proc blocking, I can understand from their perspective sometimes, because they have all the technical knowledge, and say for example, if you're working in something IT related, which I have done, I am kind of coming into a project team without the technical knowledge. Everyone there knows about what they want. They want this specific version of the software. They know about software as a service and everything that goes on in the cloud. Whereas for me, I just press send on my laptop and then it goes somewhere randomly.
What I would say to that though is that they're focused on the sort of technical aspects of it. But let's say you do some due diligence and it turns out it's two blokes and a cat running the company and they've got 2 million negative net worth. Are they a company we actually want to be spending money on? And you probably say no, and then that's when you start to become a bit of a proc block. A bit like when your mate thinks he's pulled an absolute worldie at the club, and then you have to kind of
it's the beer goggles.
Yeah, you have to kind of bail him out a little bit and just say, look, it's your beer goggles. It's actually Caitlyn Jenner,
Which some people might like.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We're not saying it's a bad thing.
Yeah, you just know your mate likes them without a knob.
Completely forgot what I was going to say there.
So yeah, that's the term proc block, isn't it? Really.
Proc block. I think another skill of a procurement professional is being able to get make decisions jointly, get the right information from people in order to help them make decisions. Like you were just saying about the example of a company that's in 2 million negative net worth. If we're expecting them to provide services to a high value client contract for the next 5 years, that's probably not a company we want to engage with. Whereas if we're just buying the office furniture off them because they're about to go insolvent, then that might be fine. So it's sort of like making informed decisions and using those relationships to have open conversations and make sure people come to you with the information you need to make, or you need to help them make the decision.
Yeah, quite often we've taken sort of our perspective, or what we found out, the sort of technical perspective, the design perspective, whatever you want, just kind of relevant, and then you're putting it forward to management, who can then make a sort of an informed decision. But they need to kind of know both sides of the story to make that informed decision. Yeah,
and I guess that is also something that is potentially a bit of a difference between public and private sector procurement, but that would be a whole nother SIPS topic and a whole nother episode that we can talk about.
Yeah, I mean that comes up quite a lot actually, in multiple levels. I think the next time we meet up and record a session, we should go over kind of what SIPS is. We've touched on what procurement is today, but it's all right knowing what procurement is. Can you have a procurement career without having to do SIPS? Is SIPS worth it? I mean, what does it cost? Do you want to do it? All of that good stuff. So it is a qualification. It does require time. It does require money. Is it worth it for everyone? I don't know, but I will know next episode.
And then is it time to play the outro?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. No, we have actually. Do you have an outro?
No, we just cut it off, I think.
Okay, right. Well, see you later then.
See you later.